Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a really universal everyday struggle that I guarantee you almost every single one of us has dealt with at some point. It's that feeling of measuring our lives against everyone else's. We're going to explore the psychology behind this comparison trap, look at how social media absolutely amplifies it, and ultimately figure out how it impacts our self-worth.
Have you ever just looked around and asked yourself, man, why do I always feel behind? If so, I really want to validate that feeling right out of the gate. You are definitely not alone. Feeling like you're somehow falling short when you look at other people's lives, it isn't some personal defect. Actually, it's a deeply, deeply ingrained part of human nature.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this totally familiar scenario. You're scrolling on your phone in bed, maybe feeling a little exhausted after a long day, and suddenly, boom, you see a friend's perfect, sun-drenched vacation photo. Or maybe it's a colleague announcing this massive career milestone. Instantly, your own perfectly fine, mundane reality just feels a little less shiny, right? You might even feel this sudden knot of anxiety or inadequacy in your stomach. Well, that flash of instant envy, that's exactly what we're unpacking today.
Section 1. The Science of Comparison. Let's briefly look at the underlying roots of this feeling, because it actually goes back way further than smartphones.
To really grasp why we do this, we've got to talk about social comparison theory. This was proposed by the renowned psychologist Leon Festinger back in 1954, and it basically says that we evaluate our own opinions and abilities by measuring ourselves against others. Festinger pointed out that when we don't have a clear objective standard, like there's no magical ruler to tell us if we're a good parent or successful in life, we naturally look to the people around us to figure out our place in the world. Our brains are literally hardwired to do this as a basic social survival mechanism.
Let's trace how this developed over time, because it totally explains why it's such a struggle today. Back in the prehistoric era, figuring out our social standing was literally a matter of group survival. I mean, if you didn't know where you fit into the tribe, you could get cast out, which pretty much meant certain death. Fast forward to 1954, Festinger formalizes this behavior into his theory. Then, early 2000s, the advent of social media hits, giving us 24/7 comparison targets. And present day, we've got highly sophisticated algorithms serving up an infinite scroll of curated lives. So, it's pretty easy to see how this ancient primal survival instinct has been completely short-circuited by modern tech.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down the two main directions comparison goes, because surprisingly, it's not all bad. First, there's upward comparison. That's when we look at those doing quote-unquote better than us. The pros, it can totally inspire us, give us role models, and motivate growth. But the cons, it very frequently triggers envy, feelings of inadequacy, and low self-esteem. On the flip side, we have downward comparison, which is looking at those doing worse. The pros here are that it can offer some real perspective and gratitude for our own situation. But relying on downward comparison to make yourself feel good, that can breed arrogance, complacency, and honestly, a lot of harsh judgment.
So, just how pervasive is this mental habit? Well, studies suggest that up to 10% of our daily thoughts involve comparisons of some kind. Think about that for a second. 1 in every 10 thoughts you have in a single day is dedicated to seeing how you stack up against someone else. That is a massive chunk of our daily brain power, and it really emphasizes just how automatic and subconscious this whole process is.
All right, Section 2, the social media amplifier. Let's pivot to the catalyst of our modern anxiety and explore how digital platforms basically weaponize this natural instinct we have to compare.
Think about the classic highlight reel metaphor. Well, people choose to broadcast, like an effortless promotion announcement, a perfect fitness transformation, those flawless engagement photos, or a spotless, perfectly aesthetic home. It's just drastically different from reality. Because, let's be honest, the reality behind the scenes is often months of burnout, skipped gym days, intense self-doubt, financial stress, or just piles of laundry sitting just outside the camera frame. Our data points are incredibly skewed when we compare our messy, 360-degree real lives to someone else's tightly filtered front stage. And it goes even deeper because the very architecture of social media is intentionally designed to keep us trapped in this evaluation loop. First off, the infinite scroll completely removes natural social boundaries and stopping points. There's literally no end to the feed, so you just keep looking. Second, The algorithms feed us aspirational content specifically to trigger engagement. If you pause on a photo of someone who seems super successful, the algorithm just feeds you more of it. Third, quantified metrics turn subjective social value into a literal numerical scoreboard, likes and followers. And finally, all of this widens what psychologists call self-discrepancy, which is that deeply painful gap between our actual everyday selves and our ideal selves. We really have to gently but firmly acknowledge the real psychological consequences of this constant upward comparison online. The mental health toll is absolutely significant. We're talking about increased anxiety and depressive symptoms. It causes chronic decision paralysis, where you're so worried about how a choice will measure up that you just freeze. It leads to lowered self-esteem and body dissatisfaction. It fuels this endless cycle of rumination and negative self-talk and creates a pervasive, exhausting sense of imposter syndrome and professional inadequacy.
Moving on to Section 3, breaking the cycle. So, the crucial point is, we are not helpless here. Let's shift gears and look at how we can actually build self-acceptance and start using some really actionable solutions.
I absolutely love this quote from Dr. Kristen Neff. She's a leading researcher on this topic. She says, "We're all dealing with a unique mix of personal history, brain wiring, physical abilities, personal limitations, emotions, and thoughts. Our achievements count simply because we've achieved them." This introduces the beautiful concept of mindful self-compassion as the ultimate antidote to the comparison trap. It's all about remembering your highly unique context and actively choosing to adopt a supportive, non-judgmental tone with yourself.
Let's walk through a practical toolkit you can use in your daily life. And remember, the goal here isn't to stop comparing entirely. That's literally impossible for the human brain, but to do so mindfully. Step 1, curate your feed. Be ruthless. Unfollow or mute accounts that consistently trigger feelings of inadequacy. Protect your digital space. Step 2, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the exact same kindness you'd offer a good friend who is struggling. Step 3, keep a gratitude journal. Actively shift your focus from what you lack to what you actually possess. And step 4, redefine success. Start setting goals based on your own core values rather than blindly chasing external vanity metrics.
And this brilliantly illustrates how a simple shift in mindset really changes everything. When we're trapped in a competition mindset, our internal monologue goes something like, "They have what I want, so I am failing." But when we actively adopt an inspiration mindset, we say, "Wow, they have skills I admire. What can I learn from their journey?" See the difference? We can actually reframe our envy into curiosity and use it as fuel to grow.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question to think about. What does success look like on your terms? I really want to challenge you to stop running someone else's race. Take the time to confidently define your own path, guided by your own unique values. Because once you do that, the comparison trap completely loses its power. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.